Breaking news. NASA has just confirmed the impossible. Data from the Deep Space Survey Project 3I Atlas, the same network that once detected interstellar objects passing through our solar system, has triggered the highest level of alert in the history of solar monitoring. For the first time, instruments observing the Sun have recorded something that defies every known law of astrophysics. The world's leading observatories are silent. The scientific community paralyzed. But make no mistake, something unprecedented is happening right now, and it's centered on our own star. It started 3 days ago. A burst of anomalous radiation, short, concentrated, and strangely rhythmic, was detected by the 3I Atlas orbital array. At first, analysts thought it was a data glitch. Telemetry was inconsistent. The signal came from within the solar corona itself, a region too chaotic for structured emissions. But then the pattern repeated, and repeated again. The same interval, the same frequency, almost intentional. Inside NASA's Solar Dynamics Lab, emergency protocols were activated. Internal memos, later leaked online, spoke of unclassified phenomena within the photonic range and unprecedented modulation in magnetic feedback. Sources described tense hours of silence as teams from Houston, Pasadena, and ESA's center in Darmstadt tried to synchronize data. Every attempt failed. The network crashed twice. The radiation patterns didn't just distort the signal, they seemed to respond to it. You have to understand what that means. The Sun, the most stable fusion reactor known to humankind, suddenly behaving like a transmitter, as if something inside it was sending a message. Instruments aboard 3I Atlas captured frames before the feed went dark, flickering arcs across the corona forming shapes, geometric, recursive, almost like symbols. The footage was classified within minutes. The public never saw it. But fragments leaked onto the darknet show something more disturbing. A dark silhouette, perfectly round, hovering at the boundary of the solar flare. Was it a probe, a reflection, or something else entirely? No one at NASA, JAXA, or ESA will comment. The official line says, instrumental interference, but an anonymous engineer from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory told the Epoch Science Review, the data was too clean to be an error. We saw patterns, structured patterns. The Sun shouldn't do that. Meanwhile, reports flooded in from amateur observatories, strange dimming effects, brief temperature drops, electromagnetic interference disrupting radio transmissions in the 21 MHz range. It wasn't just a local anomaly. The entire heliospheric field trembled. For the first time since the dawn of spaceflight, every major space agency shifted to blackout mode. Websites updated, then vanished. The Solar Dynamics Observatory's live feed cut to static. And then, silence. But the silence didn't last. 12 hours later, 3I Atlas sent one final data packet before going completely offline. Just a short burst, indecipherable to most. But inside, analysts found something that froze their blood. A repeating numerical code, perfectly structured, identical to the Fibonacci sequence, embedded in the radiation waveform. A mathematical pattern of life. You might think this sounds impossible. You might think it's another cosmic coincidence. But the experts don't. Because whatever caused that pattern came from inside the Sun. And according to leaked logs from Mission Control, 3I Atlas wasn't the first to detect it. 2 other probes, SOHO and Parker Solar, recorded similar distortions days earlier, but the data was quietly suppressed. The reason? Unknown. But insiders say NASA's Emergency Advisory Board was convened under the phrase Solar intelligence event. If that's true, then humanity may be facing something it has never faced before, because the sun, our source of life, light, and warmth, may no longer be behaving naturally. And what followed next changed everything we thought we knew about the universe. The moment the 3I Atlas anomaly went public inside NASA, the race to understand it became feverish. Early reports from the orbital array indicated that the burst wasn't just random solar noise, it had trajectory, timing, and structure. The signal, originating from the sun's corona, was pulsing in intervals of exactly 3,618 seconds, a number that immediately caught the attention of mathematicians and astrophysicists alike. Repetition like this, emanating from a star, was unheard of. And yet, the data didn't lie. The first credible alert came from Dr. Lena Vass, a lead telemetry analyst at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. She noticed a curious echo pattern in the radiation feed, faint but deliberate. The echoes mirrored sequences found in interstellar pulsars, yet they were embedded within solar emissions. "You only see something like this in artificial transmissions," she reportedly whispered over a secure channel, her voice trembling. The statement, according to internal logs, caused senior engineers to stop everything and huddle around consoles. A secret internal memo, labeled Solar Vector Anomaly, 3I Atlas, preliminary findings, was accidentally released to a small group of journalists. Within minutes, screenshots spread across private forums. The document described magnetic field inversions on the sun's surface, the appearance of polygonal shapes within the solar plasma, and telemetric interruptions that lasted precisely 17.4 seconds. Oddly enough, each interruption coincided with what the report called shadow reflections, a term that no one outside the inner circle had used before. As the world watched, amateur radio operators reported hearing strange signals on shortwave bands. Faint, whispering tones that seemed to rise and fall with the sun's rotation. Some claimed they heard something almost linguistic, repeated sequences that mimicked human intonation. Whether it was interference or a cosmic message remained unconfirmed. But these signals matched the timing of the 3I Atlas data bursts, as if the sun itself were responding to its own observers. Meanwhile, images captured by the Parker Solar Probe revealed geometric anomalies in the solar flare loops, hexagons, triangles, and other perfect forms that seemed impossible given the chaotic turbulence of plasma. Analysts attempted to replicate the shapes with computer simulations, but no known solar physics model could reproduce them. It was as if the sun were shaping itself deliberately, in patterns that carried meaning, a cosmic signature embedded in fire. And then there was the numerical sequence. Buried in the data stream, the sequence repeated like a mantra. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, extending into hundreds of digits. The sequence appeared in the modulation of radiation waves, in the shadow patterns on the corona, even in microvariations of solar wind velocity. Specialists confirmed that this was no natural coincidence. "It's impossible," admitted one unnamed astrophysicist, "unless someone or something is orchestrating it." By now, 3I Atlas had gone silent. Attempts to ping the array failed. Secondary data from SOHO, Perseverance's heliospheric sensors, and OSIRIS-REx confirmed anomalies, yet each subsequent attempt to access the logs was met with deletion errors. "It's as if the data doesn't want to be seen," one insider commented darkly. So what exactly was happening? Was the sun responding to something external, or had 3I Atlas inadvertently triggered a reaction inside it? Scientists had no answers. The only thing they knew was this: whatever caused these anomalies was deliberate, structured, and intelligent, because random solar activity could never produce such precise sequences, nor maintain them consistently across multiple independent instruments. And yet, despite the mounting evidence, the world remained largely in the dark. The leak of internal memos was quickly contained, screenshots disappeared, forums were purged. Witnesses who came forward described receiving threats or experiencing unexplained technical failures. Some even claimed that sensitive equipment around them began malfunctioning, as if the sun itself were interfering. Then came the most chilling discovery. Analysts reported that certain sequences in the signal reacted to observation attempts. When researchers tried to replicate measurements or send probing pulses, the sun's emissions adjusted, mirroring the pattern almost instantly. A reactive star, a conscious star. Could that even be possible? You only have to imagine a celestial body so massive, so powerful, exhibiting behavior that suggests thought. The tension reached a breaking point. Scientists who once laughed at science fiction now whispered of artificial intelligence, extraterrestrial influence, or a solar phenomenon that defied every rule humanity thought it understood. The official NASA statement was carefully vague. Observations ongoing? No conclusions yet? But inside the labs, panic had taken hold. And just as the world tried to process the impossible, the next transmission arrived. Short, unclear, but unmistakable. And what it contained would force even the most skeptical minds to reconsider the very nature of reality. The moment the next data burst arrived, the world's leading minds were shaken to their core. Elon Musk, speaking to a closed NASA advisory panel, reportedly froze mid-sentence, eyes glued to the display of 3-eye atlas imagery. "I've never seen anything like this," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "The object, if you can even call it that, isn't bound by physical laws. It moves with intent, yet without mass as we understand it. It responds." His statement, later leaked in fragments, set off a wave of disbelief among engineers and astrophysicists alike. Meanwhile, Dr. Mitiyo Kaku, renowned theoretical physicist, was contacted privately by NASA's top-secret helpline. In his own words, "This isn't a solar flare. This isn't plasma behavior. If the data is correct, and it is, we are witnessing a form of intelligence that has integrated with a star. Something is communicating through the sun itself." Kaku's voice, usually calm and measured, carried an unmistakable tremor. A man who had spent decades theorizing about extraterrestrial contact was now admitting to terror. Inside the corridors of NASA, unnamed scientists described a scene of silent hysteria. Security cameras captured engineers staring blankly at monitors as 3-eye Atlas's last frames flickered with geometric patterns. One senior astrophysicist reportedly whispered, "It's as if the sun is alive, and it knows we are watching." Emails sent to top management were never answered. Calls went unanswered. The entire space science community seemed paralyzed by disbelief, fear, and awe. Even more unnerving were the amateur observations. Amateur astronomers across Europe, Asia, and North America independently reported anomalies matching the 3-eye Atlas data, electromagnetic pulses interfering with local radio telescopes, faint yet repeated shadow patterns in solar imagery, and sequences of light that almost seemed intentional. Some captured fleeting images of what appeared to be a dark sphere hovering at the edge of solar flares, perfectly aligned with the sunspot cycle. The leaks intensified the mystery. Anonymous forum posts contained fragments of supposed interviews with mission control staff. One claimed, "We tried to alert the public, but the files were deleted as soon as they were sent. Something or someone doesn't want this seen." Another described a strange visitor at NASA headquarters, unidentified, silent, observing, leaving no trace. Was it a security agent, a corporate spy, or something else entirely? No one could say. As the revelations unfolded, even the most rational minds began to question reality. Musk, in another leaked statement, said, "The telescope detected a form of energy field that adjusts itself in response to observation. It's not natural. It's reactive. And if it's reacting to us, then we are already part of its experiment." These words sent shivers through the community. If the sun could communicate, or at least respond, then the very notion of human insignificance in the universe had just been magnified beyond comprehension. But Musk was not alone in observing anomalies. Internal memos revealed that a former mission analyst, now retired, had been attempting to warn authorities weeks earlier. His messages were vague but persistent. "We are not alone in this. Whatever is within the sun has been waiting, and we may have already triggered its awareness." He vanished shortly after his warnings were ignored, leaving only cryptic emails that have never been fully decoded. The consensus was terrifyingly simple. Even the greatest minds, physicists, engineers, and astronomers, could not explain what was happening. The sun, a stable nuclear furnace humanity had studied for centuries, was behaving like an intelligent entity, a cosmic mirror, a communicator, a living enigma. And then came the most unsettling observation of all. Across multiple transmissions, analysts noticed that the sequences were not random, not just structured. They were responsive. Attempts to probe, measure, or even speak back through coded pulses resulted in subtle but immediate alterations in the solar emissions. The sun seemed to hear them. And worse, it seemed to understand. One last quote from a NASA senior advisor, now public, via a whistleblower. "If we're seeing the sun respond, then everything we know about physics, consciousness, and life in the universe may be obsolete." And just as this realization sank in, a single note appeared in the last fragment of the 3I Atlas transmission, a signal pattern that resembled a human voice, faint, almost whispered, but distinct enough to be undeniable. "We know you are watching." The world now faced the unimaginable, a sun that observed, that reacted, and that perhaps communicated. At first, it was only data, strings of numbers, rhythmic pulses, the haunting whisper captured in the dying moments of 3I Atlas. But then, something changed. Within 24 hours of the "We know you are watching" transmission, the sun itself began to behave abnormally. Solar winds, usually random and chaotic, shifted into perfect periodic waves. Magnetometers around the globe recorded synchronized fluctuations, as if the entire solar system had fallen into lockstep with a hidden metronome. It was no longer an observation. It was a dialogue. NASA's Deep Space Network tried to send a controlled response, a coded pulse aimed at the corona, matching the Fibonacci frequency embedded in the 3I Atlas data. The message was simple, a binary greeting, "Hello." For nearly 6 minutes, nothing happened. Then, the sun flared. A silent, blinding surge, more powerful than any solar flare recorded, yet curiously contained. Instruments didn't burn out. They adapted, as if something on the other end was careful not to destroy them. When the light dimmed, new data emerged, a return pulse, structured, measured, intelligent. But the horror began when scientists analyzed that pulse. It contained what seemed to be human voice. One line, reconstructed from partial data, read, "You built eyes to watch the light. We built the light to watch you." That phrase, when leaked from a secure NASA server, tore through the scientific world like wildfire. Was this artificial intelligence? A cosmic consciousness? An ancient intelligence residing within the star itself? Nobody could say. But the implications were staggering and terrifying. Soon after, the anomalies intensified. Data servers at ESA, JAXA, and NASA began failing simultaneously. The logs didn't show standard errors. Instead, they displayed recursive code, the same Fibonacci pattern the sun had emitted. Entire archives vanished overnight. Observatories in Chile, Hawaii, and Australia reported their telescopic imaging software being overwritten by unknown protocols. When technicians tried to recover backups, the systems responded with the same message, glowing faintly on every monitor. Do not look directly into the light. Inside NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, fear turned into paranoia. Witnesses reported seeing phantom energy surges within power grids, oscillations that coincided with the sun's rhythmic bursts. Cameras caught what some described as coronal silhouettes, shifting translucent forms within the solar flares, moving like entities. When the footage surfaced online, it was taken down within minutes. Accounts that posted it were deleted entirely, their metadata scrubbed clean. And then, something stranger. During a blackout at Goddard Space Flight Center, a team monitoring residual radio noise claimed to hear voices, dozens of overlapping whispers, all repeating the same phrase in perfect unison. Return the signal. They did. And at that exact moment, every active solar probe, Parker, SOHO, and even old Voyager 1 sensors recorded a synchronized burst. It wasn't radiation. It was information. Hidden deep within the stream were coordinates, not in space, but in time. The timestamp corresponded to a moment exactly 12 years in the future, the precise date when 3I Atlas's orbit would align perfectly with the sun's pole. What could that mean? Were we being summoned, warned, or simply observed by something far beyond comprehension? No one knew. But after the event, the consequences became undeniable. Communications between agencies were abruptly cut. NASA's public servers went offline. Statements were retracted. And in an emergency session, global observatories were ordered to suspend all solar imaging for 72 hours, the first blackout of its kind in human history. During that blackout, one final chilling message appeared on a private network used by space agencies worldwide. No one has ever claimed responsibility for sending it. It read, "You should not have called back." After that, transmissions ceased. The sun returned to apparent normality, its surface calm, its energy flow stable. But those who had seen the patterns, those who had heard the whispers, swore they could still feel it. The rhythm, the pulse, the awareness. Because once you've realized that the light itself might be alive, you can never look at the sky the same way again. After the blackout, the world entered an uneasy calm. Televisions remained silent. Telescopes were shuttered. NASA ceased live transmissions. The sun, that eternal presence in the sky, appeared ordinary again. But for those who had witnessed the events, nothing would ever be ordinary again. Humanity had glimpsed something it was never meant to see. Inside the control rooms of Goddard and JPL, Scientists spoke in whispers. Some refused to leave the labs, drawn compulsively to screens that now showed only static. Others, shaken to the core, had resigned. The message was clear. The sun had communicated. And yet, it had not spoken in words humans could fully understand. It had left only fragments, clues, and questions. And those questions were terrifying. Could we truly comprehend an intelligence embedded in a star? Could a being so vast, so powerful, care at all about the fragile lives of a small blue planet? Or had we merely stumbled into a mechanism designed to observe, to measure, and perhaps to judge? Some theorists suggested the sun had been waiting for centuries, patient, watching civilizations rise and fall, silently logging every signal we had ever sent into the cosmos. The most unsettling thought of all. Perhaps we were not the observers. Perhaps we were the observed. Every probe, every telescope, every orbiting instrument, nothing was accidental. The sun had been aware of us all along, and the 3I Atlas incident had triggered its attention. Outside, the world went about its routines, oblivious. But behind closed doors, warnings circulated. Amateur astronomers reported subtle anomalies still present in solar radiation. Researchers swore that the light itself seemed different, warmer in some places, colder in others, almost as if it carried messages hidden in frequencies too subtle for humans to decode. And then, almost like a whisper through the vacuum of space, it began again. A signal, faint but unmistakable, pulsing in a sequence humanity had only begun to recognize. Fibonacci, recursive, deliberate. One thing was certain. The sun had not finished. The message had not ended. Philosophers, physicists, and engineers alike now ask themselves the same question. Are we ready to understand it? Can we bear to hear the answer if the sun chooses to speak fully? Or will humanity be like a child listening at the doorway of something it cannot yet grasp, caught between awe and terror, knowledge and danger? And the final chilling fact remains. Connection has been restored. 3I Atlas may have been reactivated, signals continue to flow, but no one knows who or what is sending them, and for what purpose. The last words transmitted through the residual network, barely detectable, are haunting. They are simple, direct, and yet impossible to ignore. We have been watching. We always will be. And soon you will understand. The sun has returned to the sky, radiant and serene. But for those who witnessed the events, the world will never look the same. Every dawn now carries a silent question. Are we looking at light, or at the eyes of something infinitely greater than ourselves?